And so the beautiful thing about meditation is that I really think it allows you to own it. It's you owning and taking accountability and responsibility for your own biochemistry, for the actual frequencies that you are putting out in the world. If you don't have a daily stress hygiene practice, it's like walking around without brushing your teeth. And I think the same is true of meditation.
Welcome to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg.
All right, we are live from the Ben Reinberg I Own It studios today in Laguna Beach, California. And once again, we just keep rolling out incredibly talented women coming on the show. And once again, today is no different. Emily Fletcher, welcome to the show. It's great to see you and really appreciate you spending some time with us today on a Monday.
I'm so excited to see where we're going to go. I can already feel we have so many exciting avenues. So let's do it.
All right. I was hoping we're going to kick things off by discussing your best-selling book, Stress Less, Accomplish More, Meditation for the Extraordinary Performance, and just explain the benefits of meditation as well.
Yeah. So I wrote this book very much actually dedicated it to anyone who's ever tried meditation and felt like a failure. It's like, you're not a failure. You just likely haven't been taught yet. And I know that more people in this day and age, like there's so many apps, it's so much more accessible now than it was. But the whole first third of the book is all of the quote unquote selfish reasons why we want to meditate. So there's a whole chapter on reversing your body age. There's a whole chapter on how it improves your sex. There's a chapter on productivity. There's a chapter on performance, immune function. And so these might seem quote unquote selfish, but if you're sick all the time, you have no sex drive, you're not getting stuff done at work or at home, and you're looking and feeling older than you are, then you're not contributing to your family, you're not contributing to your company, you're not ultimately contributing to society except for stress. And so the beautiful thing about meditation is that I really think it allows you to own it, right? It's you owning and taking accountability and responsibility for your own biochemistry, for the actual frequencies that you are putting out in the world. And instead of being net negative, right? Because if you don't have a daily stress hygiene practice, it's like walking around without brushing your teeth. It's like, that's gross. It's rude for the people around you. It's gross for you. Go handle that. And I think the same is true of meditation. But at the end of the day, you're going to make more money. You're going to have better sex. You're going to look better. You're going to feel better. Your neuroplasticity is going to increase. Your skin elasticity increases, and you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. So that's just a few little teasers.
So Emily, there are many approaches for meditation that I've learned through the years: mantras, mindfulness, non-dualistic, just to name a few. You developed your own approach called the Ziva Technique. Mm-hmm. Can you share more on why you felt a new approach was needed and what makes your approach so unique?
Yeah. So I was teaching, so you're right, the Ziva Technique is a trifecta of mindfulness, meditation, and manifesting. And there, like you said, there's tens of thousands of different modalities out there, but I think at the end of the day, you could really put them into those three buckets. And I would define them as mindfulness helps to help with your stress in the now. It's decreasing your stress in the moment. It's a state change. The type of meditation that I teach is actually giving your body rest that's 5 times deeper than sleep. And so that helps you to heal all the stress from your past. And then after that, from that state of brain coherence, brain and heart coherence, after you've flooded your brain and body with this beautiful bliss chemistry, then you afford yourself the luxury of manifesting, right? Which is you handling your dreams for the future. So manifesting, handling the stress in the now, meditation, getting rid of the stress from the past, and then manifesting, helping you to get clear on what your goals are for the future. And I really think that if you're going to get the full benefit out of it, then you really need to do all three. And the reason why I created the Ziva Technique is because for 6 years, the first 6 years of my career, I was just teaching meditation. And, for me, it was like, I found this thing, it cured my insomnia on the first day. I stopped going gray. I didn't get sick for 8.5 years. And so I was shouting it from the rooftops, like, why isn't everyone doing this? Which then became the name of my podcast because I am an early adopter and I like to share things. But for me, it was like too many people were quitting. I would literally hand them the keys to the kingdom. And I'd be like, here's the thing you're looking for. That thing you think the money will give you, that thing you think your partner's going to give you, that thing you think you're going to get on the other side of the acquisition, I just handed you the keys to that. Why the F did you put them down? And so I started asking deeper questions. Why did you quit? What was the issue? And I realized two things were happening. One, either people were not equipped or prepared to handle the emotional and physical detoxification that can happen when you practice a style as intense as Ziva. Or two, they just didn't understand how it connected to their dreams. Right? Like I tend to work with high performers, high achievers, people with big event horizons who have big missions. So obviously time is their most valuable asset. And so if you don't understand how this 15 or 20 minutes that you're investing in meditation is directly giving you an ROI and hopefully a hefty one, then you're spending your time. Right. And I would argue that none of us have time to spend, but we all have time to invest. We all know no one has time to waste. That's obvious. But for high performers, I would argue that you don't even have time to spend. Everyone has time to invest if you're going to see a return on that investment. So with the Ziva technique, the reason why I developed it is that one, the mindfulness piece, yes, it acts as a runway from the doing of our day into that deep, restful being of the meditation. So people who felt like I can't meditate because I can't stop my mind from thinking, it helped them with that. But the mindfulness also doubles that when you go into that physical and emotional catharsis, which most people do because we have decades of I'm fine. We have decades of backlog of stress in our bodies. So once that stuff starts coming up and out, you can actually use those mindfulness tools as a way to be present with the feelings, as a way to actually sit in the sensation instead of avoiding it like most of us have been trained to. So that's the first piece. And then with the manifesting, like actually inside of the sitting, in the last 2 minutes of every Ziva sitting, I invite people to ask, and I'll give you the technique that I teach. It's really simple, but so powerful, is that I have you from the state of de-excitation, from the state of dopamine and serotonin coursing through your body, from the place of fulfillment. I invite my students to ask the question, what would I love? What would I love right now? And from that place, they imagine it as if it is the current reality. And it's not a difficult question. It's not a difficult practice, but no one's doing it. We're all asking ourselves, what do I need? What do I want? What's going to make me more money? What's going to make me safe? Not what would I love? What would delight me? What would I love right now? Which puts you into present moment, puts you into possibility, puts you into spirit. And so when high performers can sort of like understand, I do this meditation thing, and then I can immediately dream into my quarterly goals, dream into manifesting my dream partner, it's like the return on investment seems clearer.
How long is the Ziva meditation? At 15 to 20 minutes?
Yeah. So our most popular training is called Ziva Online. And you learn it, it's an online course. It's about 15 minutes a day for 15 days. And then once you graduate, you have a twice a day practice, and it's 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon. And technically it's 17 because you do the mindfulness and meditation for 15, and then you add on like a 2-minute safety stop where you keep the eyes closed. And that's where I invite people to manifest. But if you really had exactly 15 minutes, you could meditate for 13 and then do the final 2, but it's just 15 is like a nice, easy number. It's like, and I think Tony Robbins, like, if you don't have 15 minutes, you don't have a life. If you don't have time to take 15 minutes for yourself, like then you are an enslaved person to your schedule or to something else. So it's like let's handle that first.
So let's talk about your personal story. So I believe you were a former stressed Broadway performer.
Yep.
Who was going gray at 27.
Mm-hmm.
What's been your personal journey with meditation, and how did it help your life?
Yeah. So I was like understudying 3 lead roles in a chorus line on Broadway, showing up to the theater, having no idea which character you're going to play. So you can imagine that's very stressful. Mm-hmm. Having insomnia, going gray, getting sick. And I'm in my 20s, like arguably at the peak of my career, an elite athlete and performer. And I was like crumbling from the inside. And so when I found this meditation practice, I was immediately in a different state of consciousness than I had ever been in, like on the first day of the first course. And I liked that state of consciousness. And then that night I slept through the night for the first time in 18 months.
Oh, wow.
And I have every night since, and that was 16 years ago. And then I stopped getting sick. I didn't get sick for 8.5 years. I stopped going gray. I'm 44 now. I feel like I am in better shape. I have better sex. I am happier. I am healthier now at 44, sitting quietly in a chair for a living than I was at 26, singing, dancing, and acting 8 shows a week, 6 days a week. And so it just truly, like, that stress was like, it was eating away at me from the inside. And so once I was able to heal that stress from the root cause, not only did it cure my sleep, but then my relationships got better. My relationship with food got better. Instead of exercising because I hated my body, I would exercise because I love my body. And that was just the beginning, like then the ripple effect of that. And then you could imagine the cumulative benefits of plugging yourself directly into source energy, plugging yourself directly into God every day, twice a day. Over time, that just starts to impact your ability to work with energy, your ability to see the future, your ability to be fully present and listen to your own intuition. Like all of that has dramatically increased over the last 16 years. And it feels like such a gift because I'm not special. This thing is not magic. It's like, here's this technique. It works. It's been around for 6,000 years. I just adapted it for high performers. If you do it, your life can be this good too. So it's, I just always like to bring it back to like, if you work out every day, you're going to get stronger. You meditate every day, you're going to be happier, healthier, your sleep's going to get better, your sex is going to get better, and you're probably going to make more money.
Oh, that's a beautiful message. I agree with you. I've been meditating 2 or 3 times a day for the last year. I just got into it and it's changed my world. I mean, I'm more calm. Yeah, once in a while I'll get triggered, Emily. I'm guilty, but I manage it better. I manage my emotions better. I try to prevent negative people out of my life and building that relationship where I can read their energy and read how I can contribute to them and vice versa. And because I believe everyone you meet in this world is going to contribute to your life in any manner possible. It could be good or bad, positive, negative. But, I always believe when there's a challenger out there, there's always a supporter simultaneously going on. So,
wait, you feel like if you have a challenger in your life, you always have a supporter? Do you mean like with people or situations?
The universe will always align itself. When you have a challenger in a situation, you always have a supporter. So,
I love that.
So for example, let's say someone was criticizing me or someone was negatively impacting me and you walked in and we started a conversation and you were supporting me. Those things happen simultaneously per the universe, that whenever you have a challenger, you have a supporter. And if you know that going in, whenever, Emily, you have a difficult situation, know that something or someone out there is supporting you. So you can balance your emotion.
I really love that. And I'd love to bring it back to what you said of like that meditation's helped you to manage your emotions. Mm-hmm. And you said, sometimes I get triggered, I'm guilty. And I just want to speak to that because I think a lot of people think that once they start meditating, they should stop feeling, or they should just be like little levitating bliss bunnies all the time. And that can be very confusing if that's your expectation, that you're gonna be like some enlightened monk and never want to have sex again and never want to drink Jack Daniels and you'll never feel a feeling again. When in actuality, what happens is the meditation starts wringing you out, right? That it starts actually letting you purge the lifetime of unfelt feelings, then that can be a really big delta, right? Like I thought I was never going to feel a feeling again. And actually, not only am I feeling my feelings more in the now, but I'm having to deal with this backlog. That can make people feel like they're failing and quit. And so I just want to really normalize that feelings are meant for feeling.
That's right.
I know that's like a wild statement, but feelings are actually
it's so true. I mean, I go through situations, you have a bad day and you meditate and you can bring it out of you. And it's really an incredible tool that you can use to help benefit your life. And I think a lot of people feel that, it's very strange to meditate. And I might have felt that way years ago, but when you really learn it and gravitate, and I'm definitely excited to learn your technique. I want to learn it.
Yeah, I'd love to gift you Ziva online. You can move through the 15 days. And
I love that.
Yeah, you can.
We'll bring you back on and we'll talk about the results.
Yeah, great.
So let's switch gears. You have meditation courses for kids, which I thought was really neat. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. I wish I had learned meditation as a kid. I wish I would have met someone like you when I was younger, even in business. I'm 53. How does your approach differ for kids versus adults? And for parents interested in encouraging their kids towards meditation, what do you recommend they do?
Yeah. So I've been teaching meditation now for 13 years. I would consider myself like truly like a leading expert in it. And when I had this hit, it was just a divine inspiration of like, you got to make a kids course. We started working on this in like 2017, maybe 2018. We had no idea that the pandemic was coming. We had no idea lockdown, school closures, the outrageous stress that kids would be under. But it felt like nature was giving me like a little cue, a little nudge, like, hey, the kids are going to need some extra support. And so I started working with folks from like Harvard child psychologists, folks from Sesame Street, and we built a whole puppet. His name is Z Bunny. He's my co-star inside of Ziva Kids. And I was humbled is an understatement, because teaching children, it's like teaching an entirely different species. You know, the vocabulary has to change. Children are so literal. You can't really use metaphors. And I am like, metaphors and analogies are my favorite thing to teach from. And yet children will take that literally. So I had to reframe all of the ways that I speak. Also, you're not going to tell a kid to close their eyes and sit still in a chair for 20 minutes. And that would not work. So we really formulated everything from scratch. Like, I was clear on what I wanted the results to be. I knew that I wanted an entire family to have a shared vocabulary on how to feel feelings. I knew that I wanted to give kids physical movement, like ways to physicalize their feelings and physicalize their stress. And I knew I wanted to introduce them to the concept of stillness. I want to introduce them to this idea that their bliss is actually always inside. And that the feelings that we have, you know, be it anger or sadness, those are like clouds. Right. And they're like storm clouds that go by. And just like on a cloudy day, the sun is always shining above those clouds. Similarly, I wanted children to understand that even if they're having what we call stormies, so there's sad stormies, there's mad stormies, and there's scared stormies. And even if they're having those stormies, their bliss is still always inside. So how can we start to use modalities to move through the stormies and not judge them as bad? So basically, Z Bunny, my co-star, he's training to be a superhero, and every day he has challenges. And so he feels stormies, and I get to teach him different tools and techniques. And every day he gets a new badge, and by the end he graduates, and the kids sort of join Z Bunny on that journey. And that's for ages 4 through 8. So there's 2 different courses. One is 4 to 8-year-olds, and there's a course for 9 to 14-year-olds, because as you can imagine, again, different species. And so with the 9 to 14-year-olds, I incorporate a lot more science, like, because they can handle it. And I want them to know that this stuff is legit. And I very much frame it in like, hey, if you're into art, this thing's going to make you better at art. If you're into soccer, it's going to make you a better soccer player. If you're into video games, guess what? It's going to make you a much better video game player. And that's how I invite parents to speak about this to their children. The opposite of what you want to do is be like, hey, Timmy, you seem really stressed. You seem sad. There's something wrong with you. We need to fix it with meditation. That's the worst thing you could do. Because then the kids are like, you know, F you, I'm fine. I don't agree with you. But if you're like, hey, I see that you have soccer tryouts coming out. I know that can be really intense. I've found these tools that have really helped me to perform my best. I'd love to share them with you. Also, it's so funny. Can we just watch one episode together? And if you like it, great. And if you don't, no pressure.
Are you familiar with the woo-wee paradox, Emily?
Woo-wee?
Yeah, it's a concept that striving less, not trying harder to win at all costs often generates more success.
I love that. But I'd say, stress less, accomplish more. You know, it is.
Well, personally, I found that letting go of my meditation goals around stress and relaxation always generates that very outcome. Do you agree with this principle? And how does it play into your meditation teachings?
Yeah, 1,000,000% I agree with it. Because look, if you sit down to meditate, and most people think that the point of meditation is to clear the mind. So then their agenda is to clear the mind. They're like, okay, brain, shut up. I sure would like a snack. Snacks are delicious. Oh, no, I'm thinking about snacks. Oh, no, I'm thinking about snacks. I suck at meditation. I quit. And that's the beginning and the end of a lot of people's meditation career, because their agenda was to clear the mind. And so what I teach inside of Ziva is that the point of meditation is to get good at life, not to get good at meditation. And so if you're sitting there for 15 minutes and hating it, and your brain is racing and you feel so anxious or sad or angry or whatever, but if after that meditation, you're a better parent, you're better at your job, your workout is better, your sleep is better that night, then that was an effective, successful meditation, right? So immediately we have to change the paradigm of how are we judging success or failure. And I just again and again and again, just a million different ways, I say thoughts are not the enemy of meditation, effort is. Thoughts are not the enemy of meditation, effort is. And anytime you have an agenda or a goal, you're going to use effort. And one of the core principles of Ziva is that it's based on something called Nishkam Karma Yoga, which is a Sanskrit word which means union attained by action hardly taken, lazy meditation. So it's like the less effort you use with these tools, the more effective they are. But if you're in there like really trying to relax, it's not that productive.
What's your personal meditation practice you could share? Like how many times a day? How long do you do it? Where do you do it at?
So I've gotten a lot witchier in the past few years. I used to be like super pragmatic, super just like anywhere, anytime, sit down, close your eyes. But now in the past few years, I've gotten pretty deep into sacred sexuality. And so now I'm sort of buttressing my meditation with more breath work, more pleasure practices, more embodiment tools. But as far as just the meditation, it's about 22 minutes. I'll do a little bit of breath work, do my mindfulness, into this lazy meditation practice for about 19 or 20 minutes. And then I end for 2 minutes of manifesting at the end. And I do that in the morning before coffee, breakfast, or computer. And then I do that again in the afternoon, early evening, like before I have dinner or cocktails, or before, if I would like reach for the afternoon chocolate, you start to just feel like a little tired, like you could use a little pick me up. That's my body saying, hey, it's time to meditate. So I'll go and steal away and do a few minutes there. Well, not a few, I'll do 22. And then I have this whole hit of productivity and energy and clarity and joy for the afternoon and evening.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Mm. So, and another thing I'm doing that I'm really into, that I've just started doing this week, but I just feel like sharing because it's so good, is it's akin to the manifesting practice. It's called remembering the future. So I'm doing a journaling practice where I remember the future, and even just a couple pages, but anything that's important. My mom and sister were in town this weekend, and my ex-husband and my boyfriend met at my son's birthday party. And so there was like some big life events. And so I would journal about them in past tense. Oh my gosh, we had so much fun. I love being with everyone. Everyone fell in love with each other. My son felt so supported. So I remember the future. I write the thing, but in past tense, and I write it out by hand. And it is legitimately like scripting reality. It's wild how effective this has been. And that's been really fun.
So you basically write about a future event in the past. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow. What does that do for you?
I mean, it's as if I am literally scripting my reality. Like if I have a big, important conversation, I'll be like, wow, I was so brave. I was so honest. I communicated clearly and they received it with so much love. And then it will happen exactly like that. Like wow. People will say to me verbatim the thing that I wrote in my journal. And now, obviously, I don't believe that God is a short order cook. Like you're always co-creating with nature, but it is wild how often we forget to even place the order. How often we forget to even take the time to think about, how do I want this to go? Right? Like I didn't do it on this particular podcast, but what if I had scripted like, wow, Ben and I were in deep coherence with each other. We were so fascinated by what we had to say. The conversation flowed like water. It was captivating and riveting. Spirit was flowing through us. Every single person that listened couldn't wait to share it with their friends. It's like if we had both done that, the likelihood of that happening is infinitely higher than if we just like show up with no forethought or manifesting.
Did you do that?
I did not, but I think me just doing it just now counts.
All right, we're going to start flowing. Here we go. You ready? So for our listeners who have not tried meditation before, or it hasn't stuck, or they don't know about, but they do have some interest.
Yeah.
What guidance would you share with them on how to try and build meditation into their daily rituals?
Yeah. So this is going to seem counterintuitive because I know a lot of people are like, just start with 1 minute, just take 2 breaths. And I am not of that. I'm not of that school. I'm a bit of a snob and a bit of a purist, as you can imagine. But I think it really effing matters. I think your brain that's printing every cell in your body and making every single decision in your life, it really matters how you're maintaining this thing, how you're optimizing this thing. So I would keep searching. I would search for a teacher that you trust and respect, whose life seems like a life that you enjoy. And I would also, if you try a practice and you don't see a return on investment, I would try a different practice, right? Like I don't need a body data monitoring device and 8 different headbands to tell me that my meditation works. Like it cured my insomnia on the first day. I'm 16 years older than I was when I started, and I look better now. Like, I have less gray hair. My sex drive is higher now at 44 than it was at 26. My immune system is stronger. Like, those are very clear, quantifiable improvements in my life that I don't need like a bunch of nuanced, like a machine to tell me that data has happened. So point of the story, if you're looking to start, is that I do believe that training matters. Like, you would not give yourself a 20-day Japanese challenge. Like, you wouldn't be like, speak Japanese for 20 minutes a day for 20 days if you had never taken a Japanese class. Like, you would learn the language first. And meditation, while it is simple, does not necessarily mean that it is easy, right? The profundity actually comes from the simplicity. But because we have all been trained, one, not to feel our feelings, and two, that our value depends on our doing, not our being, that there is some real nuance to this. There is some real like reprogramming that your body is safe, that you can settle, that you can in fact do less and accomplish more. So I would say find a teacher that you resonate with and that you respect, and then do that, and then dig that well. Right? Like, don't dig a lot of 3-foot wells and be surprised you don't hit water. Like, once you find a well that you like dig the well, stay the course. I'd say for at least 2 or 3 months, right? And then you'll be able to make an informed decision. Is my life better now than it was the day before I started? And I would recommend that people journal on that. Like, the day before you start, write down, how's your sleep? How's your sex? How's your immune system? How are you when you get triggered? How are you with your kids? How present are you? Write that stuff down. Because the thing is that usually these changes are gradual, and you're not going to remember the day that you stop biting your nails. You're not going to remember the day that you don't need the 3rd cup of coffee. You're not going to remember the day that you stop drinking the 3rd glass of wine. You're not going to remember when your sleep latency went from 2 hours to 10 minutes. It's just going to happen, and that's going to be your new norm. So really, I recommend that people celebrate their successes. Now, selfishly, I'd say if people are like, oh, I like this lady, I like what she's doing, I have a free masterclass that I'd love to share with your folks, and they could find that at zivameditation.com/podcast. That's just going to take them to a free masterclass that's going to help you to reduce your stress, overcome anxiety, and improve your sleep in just 15 days. So that'll just go deeper into the neuroscience of what makes Ziva so special.
So one of the things I love about you, Emily, is that you focus helping high performers, which I am one of them, and the folks at my company Alliance are as well. Share some more on some of the famous people you work with, and how does meditation practices differ for high performers compared to others?
Yeah, I'd say the big piece is our mission, right? It's like we have big missions. That's why, like, I believe that your dream will alchemize you into the person that you need to be in order to make that dream a reality, right? So it's like, we don't wait for us to be better to dream bigger. No, we dream bigger, and then the dream alchemizes us into who we need to be to birth it. And so I think for high performers, the thing that we have in common is that we have big dreams. We really want to leave this planet a lot better than we found it. And so then by default, time becomes your most valuable asset. Now, time is everyone's most valuable asset. It's just a question of how much do you realize that, and how much are you acting in accordance with that. And so a lot of the way that I demonstrate this, the ways that I teach it, the fact that I made the world's first online meditation training. It was before Headspace. It was before Oprah Chopra. So I knew that we wanted to get these tools into the people who needed it most, and the people who maybe didn't have access in their immediate, that weren't going to like fly to Delhi and go to India for a 10-day silent retreat. You know, that they're like, I have 3 kids and I'm the CEO of a company. Like, I have to really fit this into my day. So I'd say one is time. But like Dr. Mark Hyman, 14 times #1 New York Times bestseller. He says, I don't have time not to meditate, right? Like, that's how much better he is at life as a result of it. Aubrey Marcus, who's like 24-year psychonaut, done every breath work, every ayahuasca, everything. He said that once he started Ziva, he understood meditation in a new way. My best friend Layla Martin had been literally studying jungles from tantrikas and all these amazing modalities, but never had a daily meditation practice until she did Ziva. And so there's something about both this technique and the way that I communicate it that somehow just gets people to actually do it. They're like, oh, now I get it. Like, I get why this is not a bubble bath for my brain, that actually this is the single most important piece of mental hygiene that I need to be practicing if I want to perform at the level that my dreams require.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm inspired. I can't wait to try it. So you talk a lot about meditation can help with sleep. I am a huge proponent of working on my sleep as best I can, whether it's meditating, doing a vinyasa before bed, journaling, whatever I have to do, I figure out how to get that. I wear an Apple Watch now, and I'm sometimes disappointed when I wake up and I could see the low REM numbers, the low deep sleep. Mm-hmm. Let's get into this a little bit. For those who are struggling with falling asleep or falling back asleep after waking up, which is like all of us, especially as you age, you get up and you try to get back to sleep. Are there particular meditation techniques you could recommend to people that can really dig in and help them with their sleep? This is a huge issue with a lot of people that listen to this show, as well as out there in the universe, that are always looking for ways of, how do I not only get sleep, forget about the 7 to 8 hours, but the quality of sleep within that 7 to 8.
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say to anyone struggling with insomnia, I feel you. It is the worst. It is so challenging, and everything in life feels harder when you're tired, right? It's like, don't analyze your life when you're tired. But if you're always tired, then when are you going to analyze your life? So I would say that truly, like, and I know I sound like a one-hit wonder right now, but like, on the first day of doing this meditation, like the meditation portion of the Ziva technique, my insomnia, I slept through the night for the first time in 18 months. And I have every night since, and that was 16 years ago. And I want to just explain the science behind that, like why this style of meditation is so impactful at specifically insomnia. Because insomnia is your body using sleep as a time for stress release. Okay, so one of the tenets that Ziva is built on is that you're giving your body rest that's 5 times deeper than sleep. And when you give your body the rest that it needs, it knows how to heal itself. Now, specifically what we're doing with Ziva is we de-excite the nervous system. When you de-excite something, you create order. And when you create order in your cells, then that lifetime of accumulated stress can start to come up and out. So if you've spent 15 minutes twice a day de-exciting the nervous system, giving the body rest, and then allowing those stresses to come up and out, then when you lay down to sleep at night, your body can actually use your sleep as a time for sleep, because it does not have to now use your sleep as a time for stress release. So I have people, with their Apple Watches, their Fitbit, their body data monitoring devices, I have them monitor it. And usually in the few weeks preceding the training, their sleep looks like hills and valleys, light, medium, deep, wake up, light, medium, deep, wake up. And this happens all night long. And then within a day or two of taking the course, their sleep changes light, medium, deep for 6 hours, medium, light, wake up. So oftentimes people will shave 1 to 2 hours off of the sleep that they need at night, and they feel amazing because the depth and efficiency of that sleep was so much stronger, right? Because now from all of the data, and thank you, Andrew Huberman, who's also a Ziva graduate, like we're starting to learn that it's not just hours of sleep, it's the quality of sleep. And now we have all these devices that can help us to track it. So I would say that one, even though it seems counterintuitive, that giving your body time to rest and stress release during the day will actually make your sleep more productive. Now, as far as actual tools and methodologies to fall into sleep, like I would call those guided visualizations. Like if you're listening to someone, or you're doing yoga nidra, or if you're doing breath work, those are what I would call visualizations. And I sometimes use them. I think they can be great. We actually have a whole course called Manifesting Sleep, where I created this 45-minute audio that just like trails off into the distance. And I use some of the tools that Navy SEALs use, and a bit of yoga nidra. So it's like a mix of modalities that I've found really impactful to just let the body feel safe, to let it de-excite, and to give the mind something to do while there's that inevitable off-gassing of stress.
Fantastic. Do you listen to any, music like certain hertzes, 174, 432, those different hertzes and what's your hertz that you enjoy? Is there one that particular you listen to?
If I'm going to put one on, it's usually 528. It's a love frequency, but I don't do that to sleep. I just will have that on if I'm going to do a hertz. We did put, I think, binaural beats and like hertz frequencies underneath that deep sleep download. So, which is inside of the Manifesting Sleep, because I know like even people who've started Ziva online, it might take them 4 or 5 days before they start to get to sleep again. And so I'm like, even those 4 or 5 days, it's worth it to have a few nights of good rest.
So outside meditation, Emily, what other wellness practices are you into? I mean, is it diet? Is it exercise, yoga? What do you do?
How long do you have? I mean, I'd say the thing that I'm really excited about right now is sacred sexuality, and seeing your sexual energy is actually the most creative life force, the most creative energy on the planet. And you could use this energy, yes, to make a baby, but you can also use this energy to make a company or a book or money, or you can create anything you want with it. And I think that we live in such a sort of like repressed society, and there's been so much shame and conditioning and divorcing us from our own divinity that it's like we've got this one very powerful arm tied behind our back. And so for me, like helping people to rediscover their own, I like to think of, I call it creation energy, right? And if you start to think of your creation energy as both a generator for your dreams and a magnet for your dreams, that's something I'm very into. So I've been much more intentional about pleasure practices. So that could look like breath work, that could look like actual self-pleasuring, that could look like something as simple as putting on my favorite song while I'm cleaning up. So it could be as literal as like, oh, I'm going to engage in sexual pleasurable activities, or, okay, I have to do the dishes. How can I make this one click more fun? Or like, okay, it's time to go to the park with my son. Instead of being like, oh, I'm checked out, I'm just going to do some work texts. No, I'm going to like play with him, and we're going to like be monkeys on the bar, or like play hide and go seek, or, really like be in the play of it and make it fun. And so that's been a fun practice. Diet, I would say, I've been studying Ayurveda for about 14 or 15 years. So as far as food goes, I like to eat in accordance with my body and nature and the seasons. And then fitness wise, I do just like this app, the 7-minute workout app. It's like high intensity interval training, and there's just a free app, 7-minute workout. And I'll do that. That's probably like my minimum of what I'll do in a day. And then sometimes I'll do weights on top of that.
So Emily, we are all works in progress, and we always will be. Can you share a recent example where you realized you had it wrong and you didn't own it fully? Because the name of the show is I Own It. And that's why I have you on, because you own it. Share an example for us.
Honestly, like 30 minutes ago, I had a little break. My boyfriend's here in town. He was celebrating a work success with me. He was like, oh my gosh, my co-founder and I just did this thing. We had this amazing breakthrough. And he shared with me, and we're going to do this. We're going to release 10 things a month. And I was like, 10 things a month? That's too many. You can't release 10 in a month. That's going to take so much time. And I immediately went into like worst case scenario, problem solving, giving feedback he did not ask for. He was trying to celebrate a win, and I just like, I just chopped it down.
Oh my God. You chopped him off at the knees, didn't you?
In real time. And I was like, I'm going to stop talking now. And then I just kept talking. And then I was like, oh no, like you're watching a movie and you're like, this is going terribly wrong, but I couldn't stop myself. And so thankfully, like, and I saw his face, and I walked away and I got some water, and I came back and I was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I did try to own it like as quickly as I could. So that was a pretty fast turnaround. It was like a 10-minute turnaround where I was just like, that is not what you asked for. It's not even true. I was taking my stuff out on you. Please forgive me. And he just wrote me. I'm also very premenstrual. I'm going to start my period like in 5 minutes probably. And he knows that, which is a real hack, a life hack. If you were doesn't even matter. If anyone who's dating someone who menstruates, like I would highly recommend tracking their cycles. Everyone should track their cycles if they menstruate, but even the partner, because you're just going to take everything a lot less personally. I usually have like 48 hours where I have to do a lot of owning of things.
Fantastic. What's the best way to follow you and stay engaged with you and your teachings for everyone to?
Yeah. So the thing I'm most excited about is I have a new podcast called Why Isn't Everyone Doing This? And it's wherever you podcast. It's like a way to reach like these more taboo, potent modalities that maybe we've been taught were bad or shameful, but actually when we reclaim them, we can get so much magic out of them. Also, we're all over social media at Ziva Meditation. And then the site that I love to gift everyone the free masterclass is zivameditation.com/podcast.
Okay. Fantastic. We're going to wrap up with our 3 questions. Are you ready, lady?
I'm ready. Hit me.
Okay. You're 44. By the way, you look fantastic.
Thank you.
This meditation stuff works. I gotta learn your technique. I'm very inspired.
I'm sending it over. I'm sending it to you today.
I'm ready. So and we'll have to monitor. Like we'll start today and see who I am, and then 15 days I'll call you and we'll figure it out and see what the results are. I think that would be cool for you to see. So you're 44 years old. In our Laguna Beach studio, we have a couch, Emily. I would say, all right, Emily, lay down, close your eyes, kick your feet up, relax. Don't get into meditation, but I want you to look back and when you were the 16-year-old Emily Fletcher, and now you're 44. You're the sophisticated, gorgeous, intelligent, educated, well-established woman. If you can go back in time and talk to yourself and give yourself advice, what would you tell yourself, your 16-year-old self right now, knowing what you know?
It's okay to trust yourself. It's amazing to seek counsel. Yes, you can learn from other people, but at the end of the day, your intuition is always going to be wiser than anyone else's counsel. So yes, seek counsel. Yes, seek mentors, but at the end of the day, trust yourself. I would say make more space to feel your feelings.
That's great.
There's nothing good or bad about them. They just want to be felt. Even the sticky ones, just feel your feelings. Make space for it. They want to be felt.
How you know what? That's a great point. Let's get into that a little bit. Space. How do you make space? People talk about space. How do you do it?
Man, I mean, it's tricky because we've been trained since infancy to not feel our feelings. Shh, don't cry, have a bottle, have a toy, have an iPad, have some pills, have some booze, have some pot, have some porn, but don't feel, right? Like whatever you do, don't feel. And so to really reclaim that and to reprogram that it's okay to cry, it's okay to be mad, that there's nothing good or bad about these feelings, they just demand to be felt. So one way is that I went to a 5-day darkness retreat and I was by myself in a cave in the complete pitch black dark for 5 days. Wow. Now, obviously that is extreme, but I would consider myself a recovering codependent and recovering people pleaser. So if there is any people in a square mile radius around me, I will manage their emotions before I will manage my own, right? Like everybody else has to be happy before I'm allowed to feel my own feelings. So I had to take a little bit of extreme measures to actually just be like, what does Emily think? and then the thing that I left with is like, okay, you have this whole mountain of pain and it's not special or bigger or smaller than anyone else's. It just wants to be felt. So what are you going to do to make space to feel it? And so one thing that I do is part of what I teach, I'm developing this new modality that's coming out in the fall. Part of it is called emotional alchemy, where you take one thing and you alchemize it into something else. And again, I think if high performers understand why it's so important to feel our feelings, that actually that unfelt rage, that unfelt sadness is keeping you from your full power. It's keeping you from your full creativity. And so if you just put on I call it a 3-song dance party, you do rage, you do sadness, and then you do bliss, right? It's like you're going to feel better, you're going to look better, you're going to have better sex, and you're going to be a lot more creative on the other side of that. So for me, it's dance and movement and music. For some people, it could be boxing, it could be journaling, but like whatever that catharsis is for you, like put it on the calendar. Because if you don't, it's like not pooping. You can't go very long without pooping before you make yourself sick. And yet most of us have gone 4 decades without feeling our feelings. 4 or 5, how many decades you've been on the planet, you know? And so it really does require our attention. And we're seeing the impacts of it, right? Like we're seeing the mental health crisis that we're swimming in as a result of people not knowing how to feel their feelings or not feeling safe enough to feel them. And this is where I think that meditation and this emotional alchemy work can be beautiful complements. Because if your body is literally in fight or flight and you don't feel safe, because if you're in fight or flight, your body thinks there's a predatory attack coming, even if that's not the truth. And if you think there's a tiger about to kill you, or at least your body does, then you're not going to make the space to sit down and have a good cry because you don't feel safe enough to. And that's why step 1, meditation, let the nervous system feel calibrated, let the nervous system know viscerally that it is safe. And then from that place, you afford yourself the luxury of actually moving through the emotional alchemy.
So it's our last day on earth. It's just me and you. It's our last meal together, Emily. Mm-hmm. Your choice. What are we eating and what are we drinking?
Oh, now can we go to a restaurant or is it just the food?
We can do anything.
Great. Okay. I want to go to Per Se, which is a beautiful tasting menu where they shave the truffles. They have their own cow that makes its own butter. And I would just get the whole 10-course tasting menu. All the pasta in the land, because who cares about being puffy the next day? Who cares about gluten? And I would want to drink like the most expensive champagne available.
Okay. Sign me up. Sounds good. I wouldn't mind doing that soon.
Great. Well, next time you're in New York, let's go to Per Se.
I'm with you. It's a deal. So in our studio, Emily, we have a grand piano, we have drums, and we have electric guitars and acoustic guitars. And we have a black door. And if you're sitting with me in Laguna Beach in studio, which, by the way, you are most welcome to come, and we could do the Ziva Technique in person.
Yeah.
What you could have any band or musician walk through that black door. They could be living or deceased. It's your choice. Who would you invite in, and what song would they play us?
I would say Dolly Parton.
Ooh.
And she would play Jolene and tell us the real story behind it.
Okay. I like that. What a great answer.
Yeah.
Well, Emily Fletcher, thank you so much for joining us today. What a treat to have you, and keep sharing your knowledge with the world, because I think it's so important. And I know that you can help a tremendous amount of people. If you are interested in listening to more episodes of the Ben Reinberg I Own It show, just like we just dropped with Emily Fletcher, drop kick that right-hand button and click subscribe. Feel free to click the like button as many times as possible so we can let this incredible knowledge that Emily just shared with us and let it go viral. And to learn more about me, go to benreinberg.com. You can follow me on all different social media platforms. And if you're interested in investing in commercial real estate passively and building wealth for you and your family, go to our company's website, alliancecgc.com. We are the leaders in commercial real estate investing throughout the world. And feel free to log on to our brand new fund, the Alliance Medical Property Fund, the hottest fund out there on the market. And let us show you how we can build wealth for you and your entire family. Emily Fletcher, thank you so much for joining us. And we appreciate having you today, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me. What a joy.
Thank you for listening to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg. To hear our past episodes and connect with Ben, visit benreinberg.com.